Chapter 17, Section 2, the Axis advances. And remember that the Axis powers are Germany, Italy, and Japan. Right, so your first question, put the following countries in order depending on when they were conquered by Hitler. It should go Poland, Denmark, Belgium, and then France. How are Germans able to get around the heavily fortified Maginot Line so easily? Well, they bypassed the Maginot Line with a surprise attack on France through Belgium, through the Ardennes Forest. All right, so how were the Axis powers able to defeat France so easily? They used the Blitzkrieg tactics. There was that surprise attack through Belgium. And then Italy attacked France from the south. So France was just overrun. What's the significance of the spot where the French surrendered to the Germans? Well, ironically, it was the same railroad car where Germany signed the armistice, the ceasefire for World War I. So what did Charles de Gaulle establish? He established a free French government in exile in Britain, and this government used guerrilla warfare tactics against Germans. And initially, what did Germans target in Operation Sea Lion, and what group did they go after? Well, initially, they invaded Britain by bombing military targets in the south, but then they switched their tactics and started bombing London and other cities. It was referred to as the Blitz. They were showering down explosives on London. So how long did the air attack last? It lasted for 57 days. And the outcome was that it actually was a failure. Germany did not gain air superiority over Britain. People went about their daily lives, and then during the attacks, they'd go down to their bomb shelters, and then they would return to their daily lives. All right, so it was actually a failure. Finish the sentence. By 1941, Axis powers or their allies controlled most of Europe. And then we see in June of 1914, Hitler breaks the Nazi-Soviet pact by invading the Soviet Union, which will end up being a very costly mistake for Hitler. What did Hitler hope to gain from his invasion of the Soviet Union? Raw materials, grain, lumber, and he wanted to crush communism. How did General Winter help the Soviets? Well, if you remember back to Napoleon, Soviet winters are absolutely terrible. All right, so this harsh winter conditions stopped the Nazis' momentum, and thousands of German soldiers froze to death. How long did the siege of Leningrad last? And describe the conditions. What was the death toll? So it lasted for 2.5 years. Soviets' food was rationed to 2 pieces of bread a day, which people were starving. Some even ate wallpaper, as your textbook said. And then more than 1 million people of Leningrad died. So after the Japanese invasion of French Indochina, what did the U.S. do? So the U.S. banned the sale of war materials to Japan, so those critical materials of iron, steel, and oil that are important to those wartime items. How did the Japanese respond? There were some failed negotiations, so Japan ordered a surprise attack on Pearl Harbor. So on the attack of Pearl Harbor on December 7th, 1941, it's estimated that about 2,400 people died. And during this attack, also lots of battleships and aircraft were destroyed.